lovers, thrill seekers, conversationalists all across the fruited plain, the bountiful fruity plain. Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network, and the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. We are here, and it is Friday.
Live from the left coast at our satellite studios in Los Angeles, it's Open Line Friday.
That's right, my friends. Open Line Friday. Where is it? I'm looking for this thing. I've got a soundbite that goes. I know I've got it here. Well, maybe I didn't print it out. Maybe I didn't think it was important. I've got to go find it. No, it's this kid that shows up with a plea for a job. Obama, dad, White House, whatever. And it's a big mess. Not a big deal, but I didn't know I was going to get a soundbite on it, and I didn't print it out, and I found it, so I'll have to go back and print it out somewhere. Anyway, sorry to burden you with the sausage making here, folks. Greetings, great to have you. It is time for more broadcast excellence, 3 hours of it straight ahead. Telephone number, if you want to be on the program, is 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushball@eibnet.com. Let me just go through this one more time and see if I can find this. Because I thought that, yeah, I know I've got the soundbite. I'm looking for the story that goes along with that I saw, that I thought, it's no big deal. I thought I printed it out, and I didn't. And I'm going through here, and I guess I didn't print it out. So I'll have to go back to my computer in the next break and find it and print it before we can use the soundbite. Is the point. I want to pick up with something I left off with yesterday before we get into, there's an amazing, two stories that are out there today. Pete Wehner, my old buddy from Empower America, he worked with Karl Rove in the White House, the Bush White House. And Pete worked with Bill Bennett, Jack Kemp at Empower America. Now he's Commentary magazine. And Pete has a piece on the overall failure that is Barack Obama. And it's an unusual piece for Pete. Pete's not been writing this kind of stuff lately. Pete has been more temperate than this, which makes it all the more, I think, thrustworthy, if you will. And I, of course, enjoy seeing, and there's a Time magazine piece that chronicles Obama's dismal failure as they're in the area of foreign policy. And what more and more people are coming to realize is the guy was totally unprepared to be president when he was elected. We were sold such a bill of goods, and it's people, the same thing that had me so fit to be tied yesterday. Everybody knew it, but nobody would say it. Everybody knew that we were being hoodwinked. Everybody knew we were being hogtied. Everybody knew that we were being sold a bill of goods. And we were electing somebody who had no business being president, no qualifications, the backdoor agenda and so forth. But because of the historical nature of his presidency, first black presidency, is so much hope invested, maybe we get rid of slavery and racism forever and be kumbaya, that it was worth it, and all that was malarkey. It was never going to happen. It was going to make it worse. Everything I predicted to be true. I was a lone wolf. January 16, 2009. I hope he fails. I caught hell. I caught grief. Everybody knew what I meant. And now the pieces are rolling in on how he is a failure. Now, to be honest, some of these people are saying he's a failure he's a failure at being president. I don't think he is. I think he's doing exactly what he wants to do. I think he's messing things up exactly as he intended to do. These guys are judging him from the standpoint or through the prism of presidential achievement and accomplishment, and he is a dismal failure in that regard. He is an overwhelming success if you judge Obama and his ability to inculcate his worldview on this country and fundamentally transform it. But regardless, we now have some people using the fail and failure words about Obama, and I doubt that they're going to catch the grief that I caught. And I don't care that I caught the grief. I mean, that's what I'm here to do. perfectly fine carrying that spear, catching that spear, carrying that baton. So we'll get to that in a minute. But as you recall, at the end of the program yesterday, we were in the midst of a discussion about the French socialist wacko economist by the name of Thomas Piketty, and who we have some sound bites from today as well. And Mr. Piketty's premise is that there's too much income inequality and that there's too much wealth, and the wealth is held in the hands of the same people forever, and that they don't share it, and they don't pay people enough, and all they do is just take and take and take, and this leads to the end of democracy. And it's a totally absurd premise. It's a premise that has been tried in a remedial way to fix what people think are the gross unfairnesses and inequities of capitalism for decades, and the idea that there's some notion of equality that we can all be made to fit into, plugged into. We can all end up being the same people. We can all end up having pretty much the same stuff. And there's only one way that can happen, and that is if we don't have anything, and our leaders have it all. And then they decide who among us gets what. It's frustrating, as it always is, because to me it is such common sense. But it does take an open devotion to liberty and to freedom and an understanding of the consequences of individuality, rugged individualism, and that freedom entails opportunity. It promises opportunity. It guarantees it, in fact. And it's what you do with that opportunity that determines your outcome in life. And if you fail to exploit the opportunity you're given, somehow we end up blaming the country. These people do. When the blame should fall squarely on the person that fails to seize the day. And we have a compassionate country, end up feeling sorry for those who don't do well. We want to fix it for them and so forth. And we all feel guilty. The successful end up feeling guilty. They're made to feel guilty. Oh, it's not fair. We're doing so well. These people are doing so well. What if they're not trying very hard? What if they're not, what if, all kinds of variables. Everybody's different. For example, I mean, just to give you a little illustration, just a mindless little story that I found today in the middle of show prep. And it's really mindless. Marlo Thomas silences power lunch crowd at Michael's. Now, you might be saying, what in the name of Sam Hill does that have to do with income inequality? And well, I'll tell you what it has to do with it when I read the story to you. Marlo Thomas, the wife of Phil Donahue, still married. They still have a major domo. Still have a mansion up there somewhere. It's upstate New York or Connecticut somewhere. And Vladimir Posner still has his guest room there. And they sit down over, schnapps? Think about the good old days. Trotsky, and so forth. There are not many women formidable enough to silence power lunch spot Michaels, but Marlo Thomas is one of those women. The petite star of the 60s sitcom That Girl, excuse me, coquettishly cajoled those in the packed restaurant to be silent as she stood up to greet a group who gathered to celebrate her new book, It Ain't Over. Marlo Thomas joked, raising her famously husky voice, "Can I get this whole restaurant to be quiet? You guys have got to keep it down. I don't mind if you're talking over Diane Sawyer or Arianna Huffington, but I just can't have it." Thanking Sawyer and Huffington for hosting the event on Wednesday, Marlo Thomas joked, "I've tried to use every girlfriend I have to sell this book, and I think it's working." Her book, which features stories of 60 women who started over, is subtitled Reinventing Your Life and Realizing Your Dreams Anytime at Any Age. Well, why? Why? Why are you trying to better yourselves, Marlowe? I mean, why don't you try to settle in and be the same as everybody else? Why don't you just settle for being the same as all the other dregs that are out there, the unfortunate dregs that are being left behind by this unfair capitalist system? Why are you exploiting this system? Why are you trying to write a new book? You're 60-some-odd years old, or whatever years old you are. You've lived your life. Why don't you just go away and be happy, celebrate what you have, and sit there and clip coupons? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Income inequality, be happy with what we have? What do you mean, Marlowe, you want more? Don't you have enough? Haven't you done enough? Haven't you achieved enough? Why do you need to bring these other babes into it? Why do you need to bring in Ariana Huffing and Puffington into it and Diane Sawyer? Don't they have enough? Now, what about these other 60 women, stories of 60 women who started over? Why'd they start over? Why weren't they happy with what they had? Why were they being greedy? Why weren't they so absorbed with income inequality, realizing they had more than anybody else? Why did they want more? It's not fair, Marlowe. Marlo Thomas added, one thing I learned from reading everybody's story is think big, work small, don't be afraid to fail. Well, now, wait a minute. That sounds like capitalists. Don't be afraid to fail. Take a chance. Take a risk. Don't be afraid to do that. Claire Shipman has a book out with some other Catty K is her name. Claire Shipman, the stay-at-home wife, now when she wants to, of Jay Carney, the White House spokesman. She can stay at home when she wants to because they have a lot of money. You can't, but she can. You're not supposed to stay at home, though. You're supposed to go out and work and somebody else take care of your kids, but she can stay at home because she's part of the elite. See, she can write books about how she lives, but you're not supposed to be able to do that because you're from the hoi polloi. Anyway, she's got a book called Confidence Gap. Oh, yes, that's the latest problem plaguing American women, the confidence gap. They just don't have enough confidence. These rascally men, way too confident, much more confident than women. The women have got to ratchet up their confidence level up there, and they've got to start thinking big. And Claire Shipman said, we got to do a much better job at failing. And what she means is learning how to fail, because there is an education in failing. Now, to the American left, failure is natural and everybody does it and everybody should do it. And it's the natural order of things because nobody's capable of anything more than failure. The people that do not fail are few and the 1%, and it's unfair, and so we have to punish them. But here the elites, they want to learn from their failure and take it and make it something bigger, which is what everybody should want to do. But when you want to do it, somehow you're subverting America. When they do it, they somehow are enlarging themselves. The guests toasting Marlo Thomas, included Gayle King. And no mention of the Oprah. Have you seen that story? The interview with the Oprah and the stepmother and the You know, I don't have it at my beck and call here, but man, oh man, oh man. I mean, it's all about Stedman. And it's all about Gayle King, and it's all about Oprah, and it's all about how race is nothing but a strategy these people use, that there isn't any real racism out there. They just use it as a strategy to get sympathy and all this kind of, and it's been out about a week. I was able to partake of some of it while I was in recovery mode. Anyway, some of the other women at this thing were Gayle King, Sheila Nevins of HBO, Joanna Coles, Joy Behar, Gloria Steinem, Diane von Furstenberg, Meredith Vieira, and Judith Carr. Why? I mean, they're Democrats. The leader of their party is out there making this big push for income equality. Why are they trying to better themselves? Why does Marlo need a new start? Why does she need a new book? Why does she need to even think about realizing dreams again? I'm sure she's realized her dreams over and over. But she wants to reinvent her life, realize her dreams anytime at any age. See, my point, these are a bunch of hypocrites, folks. While their leader, Barack Obama, is out trying to convince you to give up, that the deck is stacked against you, that this country is so unfair and unjust that the 1%, the Koch brothers and whoever they are, have taken everything, and they're taking more and more, and there's nothing left for you. And the only way you have a chance is to keep voting for them so they'll give you what you need to get by. You should be happy with that. We should all not be happy until everybody's making this. Here you have these people that vote for this guy that are out there trying to get richer and more powerful every day. And they already are. So they are apparently free and clear and able to go ahead and follow the natural human order, which is self-improvement, make yourself better, improve your standard of living, improve your lot in life. They're free to tackle that so often as they want without criticism. And if they pull it off, they're going to be celebrated. These women will be given awards for these books and these stories and so forth. And they'll have another lunch at Michael's to celebrate what a great, meaningful book Marlo wrote. Or maybe that's what this was. But it burns me up. These people are a bunch of hypocrites. The people that make this country work are not the Marlo Thomases of the world or the Arianna Huffingtons or whoever. The people that make this country work are out in parts of the country that, like David Gregory, needs a psychological analysis to be able to relate to. And they're working hard every day, and they're trying to utilize the freedom they've got. They're trying to improve their lot in life, and when they make $150,000, somebody coming along in Democrat Party says, you're getting too rich, and we're going to raise your taxes, and we're going to put you on our health care plan that you can't keep your doctor anymore and so forth, and do everything they can to put obstacles in these people's way and start bludgeoning them with guilt over this notion of income equality because there's too much income inequality. And meanwhile, they don't sit by and sit in squalor. They don't sit by and just subsist with what they've got. They're all trying to find out where the money is, and they're reaching into the till, and they're trying to get as much of it as they can, however they can. But somehow when everybody else does it, it's greed. Or it's selfishness. Or some such thing. We're being ruled by a bunch of hypocrites at best. And at worst, it's worse than that. But I mean, here's just a tiny little example of, get this, Thomas. Well, take a break. I just saw the clock. Gee, folks, I'm sorry. This next segment is going to be real short.
America's most listened to talk radio host. Rush Limbaugh. On the EIB.
The human being should be allowed to have. Last night, my first actual, real, normal night in the past 8 or 9 days. Given surgery and the post-op recovery and the pre-op preparations and so forth. So I got about 4 hours sleep last night, stayed up and actually lived a little bit rather than did what the doctor said. So here we are, loving every moment of it. Now, I didn't go anywhere last night. This Snurdly asked me if TMZ caught me last night. The way that happens out here, my friends invite me out to dinner, and they call, they make a reservation, and the reservation, who are you bringing? And they mention my name. That's common. That's not unusual. And then whoever is at the reservation desk calls TMZ, says such and such is supposed to be here at such and such time. So here come these slavish TMZ camera crews. Well, my hosts all happen to know it. They don't want to be anywhere near TMZ, so it's time to leave and say goodbye. They always point me to a secret exit. Well, the secret exit takes me right to where TMZ is. And my friends go out the exit where TMZ isn't. It's a sneaky trick. It's a sneaky trick that only friends would play on people. And I'm walking out and I say, okay, I'll see you guys later. And I'm looking up the sidewalk and there aren't any guys. So it appears that I exit the restaurant, myself. But no, didn't go out last night. Just finally, I had a night where I was conscious, essentially. And was, didn't get tired, so stayed up. And it just back to some sense of normalcy. Now, I took the bandages off. Bandages are off. We've just got one little layer of tape now here, and that stays on probably another 3 or 4 days. And then back to, full-fledged normalcy. I gotta take the bandages off. That was it was just tape and gauze, but after a week, it felt like I was wearing a metal helmet. And to get that stuff off was also a huge relief. So that was all part of the process of returning to normalcy. Now, look, I don't want to belabor it because I think I've made the point about the hypocrisy and these people in the midst of this income inequality. The reason, folks, that's important is because this administration, this regime, likes very much what's in this idiot Piketty's book. And this book is the kind of thing that they can point to and say, hey, this is a scholar, just like a global warming scholar or any other kind of scientist. And they say, we've got empirical evidence here that this is what we ought to do. And they're going to start raising taxes on people, and they're going to start destroying wealth. They're not only going to destroy wealth creation, they are going to take wealth away from people after they've created it. That's their objective. That is their end game. But while they're doing it, they exempt themselves, as evidenced by Marlo Thomas and her clucking hen group at Michael's and the self-help book at age 70 and New Vistas in Life and so forth. How in the world can you even be thinking about that if you really believe in income equality? Because if you're Marlo Thomas, married to Phil Donahue with a major domo, and Vladimir Posner has a guest room, you got to be looking at downsizing in the Obama world of income equality. Because I guarantee you, Obama isn't looking to raise anybody's income. That's the tragedy. Everybody's income is going to shrink, except his buddies. Somehow they're exempted. And I just wish more people would notice. Now, I mentioned this Piketty guy yesterday, the French Marxist economist. There's also some work that's been produced that is more important. It's more right on the money, and it's much more relevant and worthwhile than anything Piketty has done. It's by Professor Mark R. Rank of Washington University. He's the co-author of Chasing the American Dream, Understanding What Shapes Our Fortunes. And he has surveyed the United States in a much different way than Piketty did. What Piketty did was basically go back to the 18th century and move forward, and he treated the 1% as though they were the same people, the same families, and that they never changed. The people in the top 10% were always in the top 10%, the top 20% always in the top 20%. And this happens to be common. The socialist view of a capitalist society is that the 1% is common and static and unique. And then the 5%, common, static, and unique. And the 10%, ditto, and so forth. And that nobody ever leaves the group that they're in. So the poor are always poor. And the middle class are always middle class and getting poorer. And the money somehow just magically just siphons up to these rich people. And that's not the truth of the United States of America. It's the exact opposite. And that's what the work that Mr. Rank has produced has found. See, the Piketty book rests on some supporting principles. Social and economic mobility do not exist. In his view of the United States, if you're born a pauper, you die one. If you're born a sewage worker, you die one. If you're born a bricklayer, you die one. If you're born a Kennedy, you die one. If you're born a Rockefeller, you die one. And if you're born a Rockefeller, you don't let anybody else in the house. And if you're born a Kennedy, you don't let anybody. Of course, they're exempted because they give some of their money away. They're good Democrats. But their view of the country is really what is more the case in India, a caste system. And that's not what we have here. We have a burgeoning class system that people move into and out of various income groups many times in their lives. And it's all because people are different. And it's all because they have different ambitions and desires at different times in their lives. Some people don't discover until they're 40 what they love. Some people know at age 20 what they love, but they have a job they can't leave for a number of reasons, so they can't do what they love. And they have to stay at the job that they hate, and eventually maybe they get laid off or fired from that job, and by virtue of necessity, since there's nothing else, they have to go do what they love. And for the first time in their lives, they're happy. At age 40, they maybe not have anything at the moment, but they love what they're doing. They finally are doing what they're doing. They're happy and they're loving it. And they're spending all their time at it, and it may pay off and it may not. This goes on all the time in this country. There's the degree of entrepreneurship and creativity. You can't hold it back. You can't quantify it. You can't categorize it. You can't tamp it down despite the best efforts of people like Obama. They try. The leftists have tried for decade after decade after decade, but people are people. The thing that worries me is when we've got these burgeoning young people, the millennials now, they're the new young generation, when they lose faith in the America that makes all that I just described possible, that's bad. They need to be losing faith in Obama, not America. But because their education is not sufficient politically, they don't understand that Obama is why America is where it is right now. Not America is flawed, deeply flawed. America, this was bound to happen because America is a mistake. That's what they've been taught. And Obama's reinforcing that. And no, America is fine and dandy. It's the greatest place ever devised by mankind. And Obama's the single-handed agent just trying to screw it up. And it's worth our while to try to get to these people and grab them by the shoulders and tell them, no, do not lose faith in your country. It's the biggest mistake in the world you can make, because while you lose faith in your country, a bunch of people who haven't heard the message are going to be out there running rings around you. They're going to be inventing things, creating things. They're going to be working. They're going to be happy. They're going to be doing things you don't think are possible anymore because you're investing in a guy and they're investing in themselves. And that's the difference. If you want to invest in a guy, invest in you. Don't invest in a Barack Obama. Don't invest in a me. Don't invest in yourself. That's what America allows you to do. America allows you to love yourself. America allows you to think you're the greatest thing on earth. America allows you to have confidence and bravado. America allows you the opportunity to put what you think is best on trial and see if it flies. It's always been what America's about. And while some young people may get talked out of trying, a lot of people are not going to get that message because they don't watch the news. They don't watch TMZ. They don't watch or read Yahoo. They're just going to get up and go do what they want to do. They're not playing video games all day, or if they are, they're writing the games and they're trying to make money off of it. Absolutely no reason to crying shame. People are losing faith in the United States of America. We've got a man who is a failure as a president, and it's perfectly fine to lose faith in him, but not this country. This country is at a crossroads now that has not been in my lifetime, but we're going to survive it. But it means we're going to have to survive 3 years of this guy and the kind of people he's put in power in his administration. And these people believe that social and economic mobility don't exist anymore. You're stuck. However you're born, that's your lot in life. That there is no more economic expansion. The days of economic growth, they're over. The rich got all the money. And there isn't any more for you to get. The Koch brothers have it all, and the Forbeses have it all. Whoever the rich people, they've got it all, and you don't have it. And you don't have a chance of getting it. And so all you can do is hope the Democrats take care of you. You're being governed by people who believe that you should be allowed to have money and property in the type and the amount that the state is willing to allow, because the state knows best what you need, and the state is better able to corral what you need and measure with what you want to keep you happy. And that's what this book that these guys are going nuts about celebrates as well. You're being led by people from the president on down who think that being paid according to the value you bring to an organization is unfair. Stop and think of that. Barack Obama, Jack Lew, Jay Carney, take your pick, Joe Biden, they all believe that being paid according to the value you bring to an organization is not fair. You know why? Because not everybody can bring the same value as you do. You have an unfair advantage, and you shouldn't make more money than somebody because of that. They're just as good a person as you. They may not be as talented, they may not be as creative, but they shouldn't be punished for that. And they also believe, and check the landscape of the country to see if this is happening, they also believe that people will work just as hard for very little money as they will for a lot of money. They really believe that if you give them health care with their small salary, they'll work just as hard. I'm telling you, these people do not know you. They do not know this country. They think they do, and they're ruining it. They're destroying it. I have to take another break. I want you to hear what really happens every day in this country. And it has for years, when we get back.
Celebrating the American way every day of the year.
And we're back. Rush Limbaugh, Cutting Edge Societal Evolution. I want to take a call. It's Open Line Friday. I'm going to simply delay what I was going to tell you what's happening in America today and has been happening in America for decades and continues to happen despite what the left thinks, because it is profound, and it is exciting, and it's good, it's inspirational, motivational. But I want to get a phone call here. I'm somewhat intrigued by this. It's Pat in Tucson. I'm glad you called. Welcome to the program. Hello.
Mr. Limbaugh, I cannot tell you how excited I am to speak with you.
Thank you.
We totally love you. We listen to you constantly, and congratulations on your successful surgery.
Thank you.
The reason I'm calling is regarding your comments about Margot Thomas's new book, which I have not seen, but I wanted you to consider another perspective. I'm thinking that the left might use your comments as conservatives do not want women to succeed, which isn't true. And I am personally an example of one who did. I got married very young, had several children. It was an unsuccessful marriage. It broke up, and I went to college and got a chemistry degree, moved across the country, had a hugely successful career, raised 2 children on my own who now have big, successful careers of their own. They're wonderful people.
That is great. I'm couldn't be happier for it. I want everybody to succeed. But I want to go back to what you said. How did what I say?
I'm just thinking that when
you're worried that liberal pundits are going to say that I want women to fail?
Book is going to be encouraging to some women, and I think we should give it a chance before we tear it down. And I also think that maybe this is what the left wants.
Okay, Pat, I'm sorry, you and I were talking at the same time, and you didn't hear me, so you were not answering the question. So I'm out of time. Can you hang on? I want to try this again. Don't hang up. Hi, folks, and welcome back. Great to have you with us, El Rushmo, behind the golden EIB microphone somewhere in parts unknown on the left coast. It is Friday. Let's hit it.
Live from the left coast at our satellite studios in Los Angeles, it's Open Line Friday.
Satellite studios in Los Angeles. Johnny Donovan gets the hour going into the proper tempo. Great to be with you, my friends. Open Line Friday means, of course, that when we go to the phones, the content of the program is all up to you. Whatever you wish to talk about, fair game. Have at it. It's a golden opportunity. Telephone number is, hang on, cough button. Telephone number is 800-282-2882. The email address, lrushmo@eibnet.com. Okay, earlier in the program, in context, I cited Marlo Thomas' book that she's come out with about improving her life at age, whatever she is, 90? Trying to start over, do it all over again, have happy life, yip, yahoo. She had Diane Sawyer there, a couple of other kumbaya buddies, and they're all doing great things. And it was interpreted by a caller that it could be seen as criticism of women, and that I might not want women to do well, and that the media could once again start harping on me for this. And a caller here named Pat from Tucson who wants to take me to task for this. So I want to get back to Pat on the phone now. What was it I said, Pat, that makes you think I have put myself at risk to be criticized by the feminazis and the left again? What did I do?
I do believe that you're being a bit, incorrect on this issue, how you're interpreting it. I think that the left is going to come down on you, and I think that Miss Thomas's book might be encouraging to women.
Which is fine. What I'm pointing out, maybe you didn't hear me say this. Maybe you didn't hear yesterday's program. We are living in a moment, Pat, where the President of the United States is unhappy that some people are earning more than other people. In other words, the President's unhappy that some people are more successful than other people. That isn't fair. The President is urging income equality. We must all have the same amount of money. Therefore, what is Marlo Thomas doing trying to improve herself? That's not what the president is all about. I'm trying to point out the hypocrisy of the left. Marlo Thomas and her buds, they're all Democrats, they're all feminists, and they're all carving out lives for themselves. They're free to live and free to grow, and they're free to expand, and they're free to earn more money and grow all they want. But the president is trying to force everybody else into the same mold with the same life, the same income, and so forth. And I said, why isn't Marlo playing along with it? Why does Marlo need to write a new book? Why isn't she happy with what she has? Why does Marlo need more? I'm speaking facetiously here. I'm trying to ram it down the throats of the Democrats who are telling us that people like Marlo Thomas, if they're Republicans, are somehow cheaters, liars, they're unfair, they're mean-spirited, and they're stealing everybody else's money. But since Marlo's a Democrat, I guess it's okay. She can do it.
I hope I'm not talking over you this time.
No.
I understand your point completely. I'm just asking you to look at the other side of the issue. It's going to be taken incorrectly that you are attacking women who want other women to succeed.
Okay, so how should I have done this? Or should I have just not even brought it up?
Well, it might have been better if you hadn't brought it up, or if you had mentioned the book and said, yes, we as conservative people agree that women can and do all the time reinvent themselves and become successful. And most of those women also love their men. So I don't think it's an equality, income inequality issue. And I just got so uncomfortable. My fingers started hitting redial, and here we are.
Well, you may not think that it's X, Y, and Z, but the Democrats do, and the media does. And all I'm trying to point out is the glaring and blatant hypocrisy. Actually, the Marlo Thomas story was an ancillary. It was an illustration of what I was talking about in a much larger scheme regarding the Thomas Piketty book. Now, I don't deny that there are small-minded neophytes who live in a world of utter distortion and lies, who try to take things that I don't say and repackage them and make it look like I am anti-woman. And look at what your solution to that was. Well, just don't talk about it. And I'm sorry that I'm never going to do that. I'm not going to let them shut me up. I'm not ever going to back down and have these people silence me from expressing what I really think about who they are and what they're doing. They are the new fascists, and that's how they live. They stifle dissent. They try to intimidate anybody from speaking out of fear that somebody might get offended. And look at you. I mean, it's working on you. You're worried about me getting in trouble because of what I was going to say here, or what I did say, that somebody might mischaracterize it and so forth. Not that it would be right about it, but that they would mischaracterize it, and then I would be once again portrayed as anti-woman. It bothers you because you know I'm not, but you don't want other people to think I'm not. And I understand you're doing this out of a position of total support for me. And I appreciate it, and I love it. I thank you very much. But I'm gonna stand by this. I think the point is worth being made, although I'm not planting a flag here on Marlo Thomas, and I'm going to go over that hill and make her break here. She's just an example here. Let me try it again. Here we have the Piketty book. The Democrats are eating it up. The president and his Treasury Secretary are reading it, and they're inviting the guy in for conversations. Policy is going to be made from this book. This book has as its economic theory that social and economic mobility do not exist. And yet, social and economic mobility, and yet, right here is Marlo Thomas, who's just published a new book, and she is attempting to elevate her social and economic level. She wants more money. She is attempting to upgrade her impact and influence on people. This guy's got a book that says it's not possible in capitalism. So we got a bunch of hypocrites. We got a bunch of liberals writing what isn't possible in America while they're out doing it, which is my point. Thomas, for the true liberal she is, she would believe Piketty, well, she wouldn't even bother writing the book because she would realize it's unfair that not everybody can write a book, and it's not fair because not everybody can upgrade their mobility, and not everybody can afford lunch at Michael's. I mean, if we're going to have income equality, for crying out loud, are we going to make it so everybody can afford lunch at Michael's? Because I guarantee you right now, not everybody can. Are we only going to have certain people be able to go to lunch at Michael's? I mean, this is how silly this is. And the idea that this can be reduced to me attacking women, I know that's how the left is going to portray it because that's the best they've got. They can't deal with me on the substance of what I'm saying on any of this. So they have to mischaracterize me as some brute, predator, misogynist, sexist, a bunch of lies. Does anybody who has listened to this program for any length of time knows that I and every one of you in this audience, all we want is the best for everybody. We want the greatest country there's ever been. We want our kids and grandkids living better than we ever did. We want our own lives to be constantly growing and expanding. We want every day to be a new adventure. We want every day to be an adult Christmas. This is what we want. This is our birthright as Americans. And it's not unjust. This is something that we pursue. It's called happiness. The United States of America is the one place on earth which is codified in its founding documents that this is the place this happens, that this is one of the many facets of the purposes of humanity, the pursuit of happiness. And we want it for everybody. I want everybody's. I hope Marlo Thomas's book goes through she realizes every dream with it she wants. My only point is she's a hypocrite. If she's at the same time going to sign up with Obama on this income equality business, then what business does she have improving her own? I'm trying to persuade people that they're a bunch of liars, Pat. I'm trying to show people that if you follow them, you're going to end up miserably unhappy. They're going to be great. They're going to be doing Fat City. They're going to be going to Michael's. They're going to be writing books. They're going to be hanging around with each other. And you are going to be eating Skittles bought with food stamps. And you're going to be told to be happy about it. This stuff really concerns me. I believe everybody in this country is better than they know they are. I think everybody in this country is capable of doing more than they think they can. I believe everybody's capable of accomplishing more than they think they can. I think everybody in this country is capable of greatness to degrees they can't even imagine in themselves. Because most people are beat down by life. They're beat down by family. They're beat down by peer groups. They're laughed at, made fun of. People are told jokes about. It's tough. And you have to be tough to overcome this stuff. And this is a place where it can be done. But you have to have the full access to liberty and freedom and the understanding of what those concepts are to utilize them, to make them work for you. Then people born to them take them for granted. I'm simply trying to remind people daily here of their value. You see, this is not a country where social and economic mobility don't exist. The Obamas would love you to believe that's true. They would love you to believe the salad days of America are behind us. They would love you to believe that the new normal is a stagnating decline in the American economy, not unbridled growth. They would love for you to accept the idea that you were allowed to have money and property as the state determines is fair to have. They would love for you to accept that notion. They think they're the arbiters of fair. They're the arbiters of who needs what, who doesn't need any more than whatever. And it's been tried, folks. It's dismal failure. And these last 5 years have been so unnecessary. We need not have elected this man. We need not have done it. And I'm eventually going to get to these two stories, which got all this started today, because we now got two stories from prominent people talking about the failure that is Barack Obama. I said on January 16, 2009, I hope he fails in what he wants to do. And everybody knew that I meant that I hoped he failed. No, not a soul in the world thought that I was hoping the country failed. Not me. I'm the guy that wants this country to triumph. I'm the guy that wants the people in this country to triumph. I'm the guy that wants everybody in this country to be happy as they can be, to be as achieved and as accomplished as they can be. I'm the guy that thinks I know how most people would do that. Self-reliance. Investing in themselves. Finding what they love. Going and doing it. Finding what they love and doing it so much that it's not work to them. It's their life. And as they go through life and improve their lot in life, they bring along a lot of people with them, their family per se. The rising tide lifts all boats things that John F. Kennedy once espoused as a belief that the modern-day Democrat Party has long ago thrown away. Let me put it another way. Why should Marlo Thomas have $30 million for writing a book? And some guy who flipped hamburgers all of his life doesn't? Barack Obama, if Marlo Thomas were a Republican or her last name was Koch, she'd be on his enemies list. Why should Zaza Huffington have $50 million and some guy who flipped hamburgers all of his life doesn't? Why should Diane Sawyer have $60 million because she reads a teleprompter and some guy who flipped hamburgers all of his life doesn't? That's what Obama's asking everybody. That's income inequality. Who's more valuable, a guy that feeds you hamburgers or Diane Sawyer reading the news? Look, recycling at the Japanese nuclear plant. Who's more valuable to you, the guy that shows you the video of Obama bowing to a Japanese robot, or the guy feeding you at a price you can afford? Well, the point is none of anybody's business. The market decides that. But no. Obama wants to be in charge of that. It's been tried. Let me take a break. When we come back, I'm going to get to Mark Rank and this research data he's done with Census Bureau data on what this country really is and who's really in this country and how they live. And it's such a marked contrast and difference from the way the left sees this country. Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back.
He makes it look easy, but it's not.
As usual, half my brain tied behind my back just to make it fair. Mark Rank of Washington University is the co-author of Chasing the American Dream, Understanding What Shapes Our Fortunes. And his book tells a different story than this Thomas Piketty book from France. In a review of his own and others' research, he had a piece in last Sunday's New York Times. And far from having the 21st century equivalent of an Edwardian class system, which is how the Obamas and the socialists view America today, the United States rather is characterized by a great deal of variation in income. We're all over the place. Here are some stats, and these are Census Bureau numbers. More than half of all adult Americans will be at or near the poverty line at some point over the course of their lives. More than half. Now, I don't know about you, but I have been 3 times. I have been broke 3 times. In the 1970s and 80s, I was at whatever the poverty line was. And according to the research here, more than half of us will be either at the poverty line or near it at some point over the course of our lives. I've been there 3 times. 73% of Americans will also find themselves in the top 20% at some point in their lives. Not forever. They're going to have good years, bad years, a couple of good years in a row, 3, 4 good years in a row, bottom will fall out. But 73% of Americans will find themselves in the top 20% of income earners. 39% of Americans, these are important numbers, these are not insignificant, 39% of Americans will make it to the top 5% for at least 1 year. 39%, that is a large number of people to make it to the top 5% for at least a year. But what does that mean? It means that people who get there don't stay, that many of them fall out of it, because income is not something that's steady. You don't earn the same amount every year. It's tough to get people to agree to pay you an amount of money that's big. In many cases, to earn that kind of money, you have to be in business for yourself, or you have to be surviving on commission sales of some sort. There's more to this, folks, too. It gets even better. Sit right where you are.
This is the station Dayton turns to.
Meeting and surpassing all audience expectations every day. El Rushmo behind the golden EIB microphone here out on the left coast. Okay, 73% of us will find ourselves in the top 20%. 39% of us will make it into the top 5% for at least 1 year. And perhaps even most remarkable, 12% of Americans will be in the top 1% for at least 1 year of their working lives. Now, if you listen to people like, take your pick, any Democrat, Barack Obama, Dick Gephardt, this is not possible because the only people that end up in the top 5%, top 1% are called the winners of life's lottery. And that means the lucky. They were born to it. Or they got lucky with some invention. Or they got lucky with... Never is it hard work. Never is it industriousness. Never is it creativity or entrepreneurism. Unless it happens to be one of them. But as a political matter, as they make policy, it simply is not possible to work from nothing. You've got to go to Yale, you've got to go to Harvard, you've got to have the right connection, you've got to know the right people, you have to be in the right network. If you even have a chance of making $100,000 a year. And right here, 12% of Americans will be in the top 1%. Now, NBC went out and hired a psychological executive or psychological to profile David Gregory to figure out why it is his ratings are falling in Meet the Press. And what they were trying to figure out, why is it that David Gregory doesn't relate? Why do massive numbers of millions of Americans not relate to David Gregory? And I'll guarantee you the answer can be found right here. You throw these numbers at him, he would not believe one word of this. If you don't have this view of America, if I didn't have, this is the exact view of America I have, but this is, when I read these stats, this is you in this audience, some of you in the top 1%, some of you in the bottom 30, some of you flirting with poverty now and then, you're in and out of it. You're active, you're living, you're taking chances, you're doing things. You are on the go. You're trying to make the most of the one life that you have. Things happen. good things, bad things. You adapt as the bad things happen. You celebrate when the good things happen. When the good things happen, you try to sustain them. We all do. Okay, what happened? What made this good thing happen so I can keep doing it? We all do these things. But if you are an American liberal today, you disdain all this. None of this is real. None of this is possible. The state makes this possible for people. People are not this competent. People are not this capable. People can't do this on their own. If they do, they're cheating, or they're stealing, or they're not paying enough in taxes, or whatever convoluted explanation leftists come up with to explain prosperity. But in their worldview, prosperity isn't genuine. It's an accident. It's luck. And that is, folks, I'm telling you, that is the worst possible person to have lead the country, who thinks that prosperity is an accident. Who thinks that prosperity and good fortune is luck. Luck is where preparation meets opportunity. That's all it is. Luck, some say, it's the residue of hard work meeting opportunity. But you can't have people who do not believe in this leading this country and have this country remain what it has always been. It just can't happen. And we do now have people who do not believe this, that are running this country. And they think this is all lies. It's unjust. It's monkeyed numbers. It's unfair. And it's, they don't think it's possible. And they look at their own lives. The wealthy left, now forget the Hollywood left and forget forget the pop culture left. But look at the people that are wealthy on the left who really don't work for it. They feed off others. They feed off the donations to the think tanks they run. They feed off of the donations from George Soros. They feed off of the ancillary dollars that government hands out in grants and so forth. That would be scary to depend on. That would require connections. That would require sucking up to people. That would require knowing the right people. That would have nothing to do with being good at anything. That would have everything in the world to do with being artificial and phony. And that's what they are. And we got an audio problem in there. Oh, okay. Don't worry. I'm not anywhere near taking calls. The screener computer just died, they told me, and there's a panicked look in there. And so anyway, if we don't have leaders who believe in this being possible, and we don't right now, that's the problem. We need people who are in leadership positions who believe this, who can inspire it in others. If you're a young millennial and you're coming out of school and you've got your degree and it's in some worthless liberal arts major or what have you, because that's what you were told to do, and your future's looking pretty bleak, and then you've got a leader who tells you, yeah, it is pretty bleak, leave it to me, that's no good. Great leaders inspire people by telling people what they are capable of, what is possible, what needs to be done, what can be done. It's happening in little enclaves all over this country. Small companies, large companies. It's happening in a lot of places. It is not happening at government, and it is not being inspired by government or from government. Government doesn't create wealth. All government can do is redistribute it or destroy it. What young people today need is what young people in this country have always had, and that is optimistic role models. People willing to inspire them. People willing to tell them what's possible. People willing to remind them they live in the greatest country on earth and what's possible here, and who have enough knowledge that can cite examples. People who came from all walks of life, born in all kinds of socioeconomic circumstances, who made the most of their lives. not by virtue of luck, although, there's luck in everybody. I mean, everybody needs help. Everybody gets assistance. There's luck in everything. Nobody is totally self-reliant, and nobody ever makes the claim anybody is. But the Democrat Party is hell-bent on convincing as many people as possible that no success is really earned. Their lifeblood depends on as many people believing that there is no real success. That everything is a rigged game. Comes from connections, who you know, who you've greased, whatever, however you network to get where you are. That hard work and industriousness and creativity and coming up with something new, ingenuity, none of those things that don't matter. That's just claptrap. You can't do that. We don't need all this negativism. We don't need all of this malaise, this cloud, this overcast, this mist of despair all over the country that we are being led by now. And the solution is income equality? That is the big answer to everybody's economic dreams. I ask football coaches, NFL coaches, as I get older, I wonder if the game is going to change. Everybody does. I remember I talked to Bill Parcells. It was at a Wayne Huizenga golf tournament, Wayne Huizenga's course in Palm City, Florida. This must have been 10 years ago, and maybe longer. I remember once I talked to Harry Carey, one of my childhood heroes, baseball play-by-play for the St. Louis Cardinals. And after I outgrew baseball, the baseball players that were my heroes growing up, when I became older and when I got to be older than the players, they stopped being the same kind of heroes to me. And so I would ask these experts. I asked Harry Carey, is the game the same, Harry? Is this as good when Musial played? Is it the Stars as good when you had Shane Dietz at second base, Dick Grote at shortstop, Kurt Flood in center field? And he said to me, "Oh my God, the game's never been better, Rush. I'm in Chicago. I got Ryne Sandberg at second base. I've got some of the best pitching I've ever seen in baseball. Game's better than ever." Which I was happy to hear. Don't misunderstand. When I talked to Parcells, and I worried socioeconomic conditions, is the game changing, Coach? Is it being played by different people now? He said, "No, Rush. They've all got their dreams just like we had when we started. They all want to be in the Hall of Fame. They all want to be the best. They all want to be the best they can be. The names change and maybe the styles, but the caliber of player may be better than in the past." I was happy to hear it. For every walk of life in the country, you want every generation being better. This is the country where this is possible. I can't, it breaks my heart that we are being led by a bunch of people to whom all of what I'm saying to you is foreign. They don't understand it. They think it's impossible. They think it's never been real. In fact, the United States has never really been this great country. It's always had what it's had because it's stolen from others, or it's committed genocide around the world, or it maimed Native Americans, it enslaved black people and so forth. They live in this historical backwater where they are unable to get past what they see as genuine horrors that are definitive. They're unable to see past the days where those were erased, dealt with, prices paid, and we moved on. But man, some of these economic numbers of where people end up. I know a guy who has passed away. He made and lost a $200 million fortune twice in a period of 10 years. I can't relate to that. He did it in commodities. His first name was Ned. He was a World War II veteran. He's a World War II hero, and nobody knew until his funeral the extent of his heroics, because he never talked about them. But he was just constantly on the go, and he always had things in play. Things were always in motion. And there was no way that this man, Ned, that I knew would in any way even understand the President of the United States trying to establish as a national policy something called income equality. You don't know what it is. Based on what? Family size? Based on, income equality to buy what? To live how? He would have understood exactly what it is. It's nothing more than a political ploy right out of the class envy playbook. But what all of this Democrat Party politics is doing is destroying people's dreams. It is destroying people's belief in themselves. It is creating envy and jealousy of people who have genuinely succeeded rather than creating role models and curiosities out of people. Speaking for myself, I don't recall ever resenting anybody who having had more they did. I often ask myself why they did, but I never resented it. I knew there was no future in that. But I always wanted to know how. Why? How did they do it? And these statistics, 12% of Americans will be in the top 1% for at least 1 year of their lives. And then there's more. The top 1% is such an unstable group of people. It changes so much every year. It makes no sense to write about what's happened to the income of the 1% over the past 10 or 20 years because it doesn't contain the same group of people from year to year. It's ridiculous to study the 1%. They are not the same people year in and year out. Yet, you listen to the Democrat Party talk about them, and they are this collected group of evil people. They belong to this club and that club. It's time we got our arms around all this and realized that we live in the greatest place on earth where the greatest things possible still are. And that's what we have to strive to save. And remind everybody younger than we are that it is indeed possible. We got to get inspirational, motivational. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I get a brief, obscene prophecy.
Rated the #1 talk radio personality.
On the 9th Friday, Rush Limbaugh executing assigned host duties flawlessly with zero mistakes. There's also some audio sound bites here. There's a few that we got to get into. So we've got a jam-packed hour coming up. I would really urge you to stay glued to where you are. Don't go anywhere till I say so.
WHIO Dayton W.
Hi. How are you? Great to have you back, my friends. Rush Limbaugh, your guiding light. And it is Friday, so let's just keep hitting it.
Live from the left coast at our satellite studios in Los Angeles, it's Open Line Friday.
I don't think there's anybody better than Johnny Donovan at saying Los Angeles. There is nobody better. Not Ed McMiniman. There's nobody better. There's no better staff announcer than Johnny Donovan. You know, back in the old days, folks, I think about the old days a lot. In the old days at real radio stations, they had people that were called staff announcers. That's what they were. And let's say the morning guy, Fred J. Gambling, called in sick after a night of gambling and booze. There was always a staff announcer on standby to move in and do the show, and he was called the staff announcer. Never had a name. Now the costs are prohibitive and don't have companies pay people hanging around, just waiting for people to not show up. But in the old days, when money was not an object, back in the Sarnoff days and the Paley days, the staff announcer days, we really had these guys, and that's what they did. They just hung around, and they had great pipes, great voices. The old days of broadcasting. Anyway, it's great to be back with you. Open Line Friday, wrapping up a week here in Los Angeles, and here's the final bit of data here from Mark Rank of Washington University, which is the best counter to this Thomas Piketty book. We left off with the fact that the top 1% is such an unstable group of people that people move in and out of it. You think of the 1% as Warren Buffett and the Koch brothers and the Bill Gates. That's the 1/10 of 1%. The 1%, 12% of the American people are going to be in that group at least 1 year of their lives. And it's small. But at least 12% are going to move in and out of it. But you can't study it. You can't make any definitive economic, socioeconomic claims about them because they change too often. It does not contain the same group of people from year to year. There's a tax scholar by the name of Robert Carroll who has examined IRS records. And Professor Rank notes that the turnover among the super rich, top 400 taxpayers in any given year is what the super rich category is, the top 400 taxpayers. The turnover among the top 400 taxpayers in any given year is 98% over a decade. You know what that means? It means that just 2% of that group remain there for 10 years in a row. Now, you listen to Barack Obama and the Democrat Party, Joe Biden, Dick Gephardt, and you're going to be told they're the same people. They've been there since the day they were born. They're going to be there till the day they die, and then their families take over. And they're this evil, faceless group of people. They start sipping cocktails at 4:30 in the afternoon, playing polo or croquet, clipping coupons, don't even know when the country's at war. That's not who they are. They are you. They've been your neighbors. It's the essence of freedom and liberty and opportunity that makes this possible. It is not command and control economics. It's not people assigning these incomes to people. It's not networking. If you could network yourself into this situation, you'd stay there forever. It's work, folks. It results from work. It results from creating things that people want, producing services people willing to pay for, and then staying on the cutting edge so that your competitors don't outdo you. Capitalism is bloodlust. Capitalism is, look at what's going on with Apple and Samsung and everybody in the smartphone industry right now. It is some of the bloodiest competition you will find in the civilized world. And it is unfair, and it is filled with tricks, it's filled with chicanery, it's filled with deception. That's what it is. And the big boys play in that league. And you want to be a big boy in that league, there's a route you take to get there. And you can in the United States of America. Some people don't want to go that high. Some people don't want to get involved in that game. Some people don't have a stomach for it. Some people don't want to deal with the stress. Other people thrive on it. We're all different. We cannot ever be the same. It's one of the most profound insults, particularly for a leader of a country like this, to even assume that sameness is possible. It's even worse to assume that sameness is an objective. So 2% of the super rich remain there 10 years. 2%, the top 400 taxpayers any given year remain there for 10 years. Among those earning more than $1 million a year, most earned that much for only 1 year of the 9-year period studied. Only 6% earned that much for the entire period. Ultimately, Professor Rank writes, this information casts serious doubt on the notion of a rigid class structure in the U.S. based upon income. It suggests that the United States is indeed a land of opportunity, that the American dream is still possible, but that it is also a land of widespread poverty. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics finds that among allegedly privileged 1%, inherited wealth accounts for only 15% of household holdings. A smaller share than it does among middle-class families. There is going to be poverty in great wealth. There just is. You're always going to have extremes in everything. There is no flat line, folks, unless you're dead. And then your line is flat. Oh, excuse me, hit the wrong button. There is no flat line. But poverty in the United States of America is not like poverty around the rest of the world. Those in poverty in this country eat regularly, drive cars, watch television, and make phone calls. And I get lambasted every time I make that point, but that's Robert Rector citing statistics that he's worked up at the Heritage Foundation year after year after year. Now, Pete Wehner, Commentary Magazine, Obama's staggering record of failure. And just some pull quotes here. It's not simply that Mr. Obama has fallen short of what he promised. It's that he has been, in so many respects, a failure. Choose your metrics. Better yet, choose his. Job creation, failure. Economic growth, failure. Improving the healthcare system, failure. Reducing the debt, failure. Reducing poverty, failure. Reducing income inequality, failure. Slowing the rise of the oceans, failure. Healing the planet, failure. Repairing the world, failure. The Russian reset, failure. Peace in the Middle East, failure. Red lines in Syria, failure. Renewed focus on Afghanistan, failure. A new beginning with the Arab world, failure. Better relations with our allies, failure. Depolarizing our politics, big failure. Putting an end to the type of politics that breeds division and conflict and cynicism, failure. Working with the other party, failure. Transparency, i.e. honesty, failure. No lobbyists working in his administration, failure. His commitment to seek public financing in a general election, failure. The list goes on and on. Barack Obama was among the least prepared men to ever serve as president. It shows. He's been overmatched by events right from the start. He is an excellent campaigner, but unusually inept when it comes to governing. Man, this is a Limbaugh theorem, is it not? This is the Limbaugh theorem to a T, and Mr. Wehner has swerved into it. He survives by constantly campaigning against what he has caused. He makes it look like he is opposed to what's happening, except he is the one making it happen. He does not govern. He cannot be seen as governing. That's the point of the Limbaugh theorem. Obama's non-accountability rests on the fact that he is not seen as governing. He's seen as campaigning and being constantly against all of this stuff. But this line, Barack Obama was among the least prepared men to ever serve as presidency. How did we get here then? Because I maintain that it was known in 2008 that he was among the least prepared to ever seek the presidency. So why is it that some only now, in 2014, feel comfortable saying so? Well, there's all kinds of answers for that. But you remember David Brooks? David Brooks, one of the learned class, a conservative columnist of the New York Times. Remember what he said? Obama's crease in his slacks told him that he was going to be a great president, and I am not making that up. We had our own intellectual class fail us by signing on to this, because Obama was one of them. He was a Harvard man. He was a Columbia man. He was the first African-American president. He could speak. He could articulate. He sounded intellectual. He sounded smart. He sounded erudite. He sounded sophisticated. He sounds like us, they said. But if it is safe to say that he was among the least prepared men to ever serve as president today, it was true in 2007, and it was true in 2008 because there has been nothing that has changed. It has only gotten worse. And the New York Times has their own version, or does the Washington Post their own version? Got to take a break here, but there's another attempt at, it's a Time magazine. Obama's foreign policy failures are proving his critics right. Let's take a break. Don't go away, folks. Much more, as promised, when we get back.
In every corner of this world.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a college that wraps up this coming Monday that you're going to want to know about. It's the Constitution 101 course from Hillsdale College, the online class that you can take free from this prestigious college in Michigan. For 10 weeks this spring, Hillsdale professors have been sharing their lectures on the Constitution with you through an online video lecture series. And this coming Monday is the grand finale, the big finish by Dr. Larry Arnn. The president of Hillsdale College still manages to find time to teach courses every year, including this one, Constitution 101. Now, this is a course that gives you more information and context on the meaning of one of our nation's most important documents. It's really easy for you to see this coming lecture on Monday and the 9 previous ones, too. They're all online and they're all on demand, meaning you can watch them at any time convenient for you. If you wanted to watch them back to back, you could probably do that too if you wanted to binge on them. Each lecture is about 40 minutes long. A variety of professors deliver their very best orations to make this a very compelling series. Compelling is the key. Anybody can sit there and read the Constitution to you. Anybody can sit there and tell you about it. But if somebody can make it compelling, make you want to learn even more than what they're telling you, that's how good they are. That's what they do. The entire thing is free, folks. Hillsdale College does this because of their commitment to the sense of freedom in this country. They know that if you are all more informed, you're going to want to share what you've learned with others, carry the conversation further. They believe, they like to share their passions. They believe that the key to rescuing this country is to further education, understanding of the Constitution. That's what they believe. That's their passion. That's why they're giving it away. They want you to see how they do it. They're making it available online at absolutely no charge. The same course that students' parents are paying through the nose. You get it for nothing. That's how eager they are for people to be exposed to this. And that's what learning is all about. It underscores the mission of Hillsdale College, learning and teaching. Here's what you do. There's a website set up just for you, rushforhillsdale.com. Just go there and sign up. And the lectures are ready. Take them whenever you want. Watch them whenever you want. rushforhillsdale.com. And I swear it's free and there are no strings attached. Okay, going to grab a phone call. Promise we're going to get phone calls in. Where are we going? Who's first? Tell me. Okay, I got 3 numbers there. Okay. The computer's down, so I'm getting verbal cues. This is Mike in Tucson, Arizona. Hi, Mike. Great to have you. Welcome to the program, sir. Hello.
Hello, Rush. Dittos from sunny Tucson, and thanks for everything you do. I wanted to echo everything that you said the last hour. You're 100% correct and exactly on point, and it's been very, very true in my life. I started my company over 30 years ago, and I've been for many years in the top 0.5%, and I've never struggled harder over the last 5 or 6 years than I am right now. But you go in and you go out, and the one thing that doesn't change, I think, for people that achieve that level is their work ethic and drive, because it's not tied to money. It's just like your career. You do it because you love it, and you never quit, and, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I also have a theory on your top 1% and why people come in and go out, if you don't mind. Unless you're born with a lot, is kept in a trust for you, the people that achieve that, Rush, are there because they take risks. They succeed and they continue to take risks. They're calculated.
Yeah, let me jump in here. Let me because Larry, Mike, there's a point here. Both of these feminist books, the Claire Shipman book out and this Marlo Thomas book. Here we get feminists who have been practicing liberal theology for the past 40 years. And what have they finally discovered? They need to learn how to risk, and they need to learn how to fail. They're just coming to it, Mike. They're just now discovering what that means. You and I, you've known it all your life, but it's not, to them, it's something new. It's something they think it's brand new, revolutionary. Why? We've got to get better at failing, meaning we've got to start taking risks. And it doesn't dovetail with what this administration's putting out. Risk-taking is the root of evil in capitalism. Risk-taking is what leaves people high and dry. That's what Obama wants people to believe. And I just find it fascinating that several of his acolytes, particularly on the feminist left, all of a sudden now have decided that risk-taking is something women need to get better at in business.
Risks on different things in their life. I mean, that's the only way you can truly appreciate success. That's the only way you can truly achieve success, is you have to take a risk. Now, maybe it's with a relationship, maybe it's in business. Any decision you make involves a certain amount of risk. Not all risks pay off. I mean, you try to make the best decision you can, but you keep moving forward.
Well, risk manifests itself in a whole lot of different ways. I once had a guy ask me what level of risk he thought I was taking, my grass. I don't think much. And he looked at me and his eyes bugged him. He said, you don't think you're taking risk? No, I've got fallback positions if things don't work. He said, you're crazy. You have no idea the risks you're putting yourself up to every day. And when he explained it, I understood what he meant. It's been dormant. In terms of my cochlear implant, not just tied behind my back. It's actually been dormant. And that makes all of this even more incredible. Well, trying not to pound on the table, too. I'm cognizant of that. Brand new study found that nearly 1 in 5 adults who are active online have had their private information stolen. 20%. Could be you. Social security number, credit cards, bank account information. Has it ever happened to you? If it has, if you've ever got a panic email, change your password because their website's just been hacked, you know how you feel? And if somebody says, oh my God, they got my credit card number, oh no, and you're going to start calling the credit card companies. If you lose, somebody steals your purse, your credit cards, your wallets, and you realize the hassle that is. Well, imagine all of that happening and you don't even know it. You're at home minding your own business, and some hacker is out playing around and defeats the security on a website, and you happen to be a logged-on member. How are you going to know? You're not going to know until somebody is using your data to buy stuff, and then you hear about it, and now you've got a mess. But there's a way that you can learn that this has happened to you before anybody starts charging things. It's called LifeLock. Right now, this heartbleed thing that happened on the internet affected 66% of active websites. There was a vulnerable digital data flaw at 66 active websites. Then there were the massive data breaches at Target, Neiman Marcus earlier this year. Millions of credit cards and debit cards were exposed. People didn't know. You know how you feel when you know what happens to you. When somebody's run off with your credit card or you've lost it or something and you've got, oh my God, how many credit cards do I have to call? Oh no, the bank. You become a member of LifeLock and all of that ceases to become a problem. Because whenever there is any theft involving your data and thieves then try to use your data, LifeLock sends you an alert. It says, hey, there's some weird activity going on here on your credit card account. Are you trying to buy 15 chinchillas right now? And, of course, you're not. You say, no, I'm not trying to buy 15 chinchillas. I don't care. And they shut it down. And that's how it works. And you can't miss these alerts. They're sent email. They phone you. They're bright red flashing lights on your email pages, websites. You can't miss it. Best identity alert system going. And it works. You should test it. Become a LifeLock member and set up a new bank account. See what happens. You'll get an alert. And you'll find out what it feels like to think that somebody might be setting up a new bank account in your name, even though you know you're doing it, so it's a test. LifeLock is at 800-440-4833. If you use my name and you call, save 10%. It doesn't cost much to begin with, so it's a heck of a deal. LifeLock Ultimate. The most comprehensive identity theft protection ever created. Not only does it help guard your identity and your good name and your credit, those are essential. LifeLock Ultimate even monitors your bank accounts for takeover fraud now. They just got the Best in Detection award among identity protection services. LifeLock, 800-440-4833. Mention my name, offer code RUSH. God, Matt in Phoenix. I'm glad you called, sir. Welcome to the program. Great to have you here. Hello.
It is great to talk to you. I called you once 18 years ago. I was working as a paramedic, and right in the middle of our conversation, I got a dispatch call, and I had to hang up. And it's been 18 years trying to get through, but I'm glad I waited.
Wow, you got a dispatch call and you had to hang up 18 years ago.
It was the one time I got through. The one time I got through to you, I was working as a paramedic, and right in the middle of our conversation, a tone went off, and I got dispatched and had to hang up. So it was at any rate.
Well, here you are. You're back at it, proving that you are not a winner of life's lottery, but you are a stick-to-itive guy.
I am. Although I will say I did win life's lottery with my grandson, and that's who I wanted to talk to you about. He is 4.5 years old, 5 years old. My wife and I are raising him with our daughter. He was born with auditory neuropathy spectrum disorder. So he kind of hears, but it doesn't translate into anything. It's like they explain it as hearing white noise. So we had a cochlear implant done 3 years ago. And one of the most exciting days of my life was the day that about 6 weeks after the surgery, when they put it on for the first time and they turned it on, and I just happened to be talking, and that little boy whipped his head around with an astonished look on his face and just smiled, and it was absolutely incredible. Now we're thinking about a second cochlear. And as you know, and the nerve, when they put in the cochlear, it does stuff to the nerve. And I'm kind of wondering what you would advise on a second cochlear versus one, waiting longer? Basically, if you had to do it over again from what you knew 10 years ago, would you have gone and done it immediately, or would you?
Well, no, I can't change the circumstances I was given. 10 years ago, I was told fairly confidently that in 10 years there was going to be a cure for what ailed me, and so that I should keep my second ear untouched so that the cure could be applied to it and natural hearing restored. And that's
kind of what they've told us.
Right. But 13 years ago, it's all changed. 13 years ago, the best science of the day said that all any cochlear implant patient needed was one. Whether they were deaf in both ears or not, only needed one, because two, A, cost prohibitive, B, the benefits were not measurable in terms of speech comprehension and a number of things. But that's 13 years, a long time ago. Now, I would bet last 2 years, the medical community has been imploring me to get the second ear done because they've had an entire change of heart on the nature of bilateral implants, and patients' success measured in terms of speech comprehension, perception of environmental sounds, spatial awareness, where sound comes from, and general enjoyment of life. I'll tell you, I always, just me, when 13 years ago, I said, why are we only doing one? What is this? I never believed there was going to be a cure for baldness. I thought that was smoke and mirrors, but I had to trust the doctors. I couldn't understand why I wasn't getting two at once anyway. Well, God gave me 2 ears. Why are you guys only going to replace one of them? What do you know that he didn't? I mean, that was my thinking on it. So, but I trusted what they said. In your case, what is the nature of your son's deafness? And are there any real possibilities that his natural hearing could be restored in his lifetime? I mean, he's only 5 years old, you said.
Well, and right now we don't know what he is actually. We know he can hear noise. He just can't process that noise. It's like, the best way to explain it is like as if that nerve is asleep and it's constantly tingling, and when he can hear a noise but cannot process that into sound, so that
let me step in here again and try to help the audience understand this, because folks, I'm going to venture to say that most of you don't understand what this man said. What do you mean his son can't hear? Because you can't relate to not hearing. People that have not experienced deafness, I can't emphasize this enough. You cannot replicate deafness. You can't put your hands over your ears or headphones on your ears and replicate deafness. You can't do it. You can close your eyes and be blind. You can strap yourself into a seat and not be able to walk. You can replicate other disabilities, but you cannot replicate blindness. So when you hear a man like on this call talk about, well, we don't know what our son is hearing. Grandson, we don't know what he's hearing. He's hearing sounds. He can't tell them what he's hearing. He doesn't know enough. Everybody's flying blind here. He doesn't know if he's hearing words, the things coming out of his parents' mouths. He's never heard words. He doesn't know what he's dealing with. His grandparents have no clue, and the grandchild cannot tell them. It's the biggest mystery in the world. Now imagine Helen Keller, who was blind and deaf. She went nearly insane trying to communicate with people. It's really a tough thing for people who can hear to put themselves in a position of people who can't, because you can't relate to not just hearing sounds is just, that's easy. There's nothing. And when that's all somebody hears and they don't know how to convert them into words because they've never heard words before, your grandson has a lot of time ahead of him with therapists. They're going to try to teach him letters and vowels and language and this kind of thing. And I just see how it goes in that one ear. One thing to take solace in, though, regardless what happens with speech and your grandson, he is always going to be connected to his environment via sound, and that's irreplaceable. Even if he doesn't know what you're saying, the fact that you're making sounds, he's going to interpret them some way, and in conjunction with your facial expression, he's going to know when you're happy, and he's going to know when you're not. He's going to be able to make connections, and you are going to establish ways to communicate. It may not be verbal right off the bat, but the fact that he can hear environmental sounds, it's a safety thing. If he's out, he's going to hear sounds like a car close by or whatever. It's all good, no matter what the negatives are. There's good in all of it. And from what I'm being told, the doctors now, that the second implant is only anecdotal. There's no really scientific empirical data on it, but all the anecdotal data is that the second implant is an improvement.
Well,
to give you the short answer to the question.
We know he can hear because when he's doing something he's not supposed to, like using Grandpa's iPad without permission, he will take his implant and pull it off the side of his head and let it hang down so that, well, if he can't hear us, we obviously can't hear him either.
Right. You clever little guy, you. That's. But he can use an iPad with no problem.
He has learned to use the iPad, and for a kid who was born with a brain malformation and deaf, and we were told all sorts of things that were going to be wrong with this kid, he is just absolutely an incredible kid. We gave him an old iPhone that we no longer were using and have it connected to the Wi-Fi so he can use his sign language apps on it. We haven't been able to get him an iPad yet, but that's down the road. And we're looking at the technologies to be able to connect with Bluetooth to the iPad.
I was just reading last night. And by the way, Matt, now don't hang up here. Apple and their latest iOS 7 has got some of the most amazing hearing aid software. It's astounding for people who can hear naturally to be able to hear in crowds, to improve hearing in crowds. It doesn't do people like me any good. You've got to have residual hearing, but Apple has some of the most incredible, you named it, low power Bluetooth, third-party hardware that works in conjunction with their system software that is apparently miraculous, used in conjunction with an iPhone. It's just, I wish, when I was reading the story, I wished that it would work for me, but it doesn't because I don't have any residual natural hearing. Now, I've got to go. I'm going to put you on hold, but I want Snerdley to get your address. I'm going to send you guys an iPad Air so he can have his own. And at least I can do it. Just play yourself out with this first implant. See how it goes. You've got all the time in the world to decide whether to do a second one. And the doctors will tell you the best thing to do on it. I have full faith that they know what they're doing there. I'm not going to play doctor with you in that. Got to take a break. Thanks for the call. Sit tight. We'll be back and don't hang up now, Matt, so Snerdley can get the address and tell him what color you want. I think we have some. We'll just send you the Air. I'm not even sure we have any minis left. The Air's better anyway because it's lightweight and thin, big screen. We'll do that.
You're listening to Rush Limbaugh.
The big voice on the right. Grandson's name is Eric, and we're going to send him a couple of Rush Revere books along with his iPad. Say, folks, what gives you a sense of security you've never had before? For Gary, there's a listener here on Open Line Friday. It was something he did to his home. He installed a home security system from SimpliSafe. Gary and his wife moved to a new neighborhood 2 years ago, a nice neighborhood. 2 home burglaries took place after they moved in, and it created enough unrest at his home that no one was really sleeping well. On top of that, Gary travels once in a while. That made Michelle even more uncomfortable. And then SimpliSafe came into the picture. It's a home